y'all, it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Alright, so for today's video, I've got my new puppy here in the room with me. He is sleeping there nice and quiet, so hopefully he stays sleeping, otherwise we may have some brief interruptions. But hello! I'm excited to be filming again. I tried to film last week for the first time in over a month probably, and the footage got corrupted. So yeah, that was my first experience with that. Not very fun. But today's video is kind of going to be a two-in-one. We're going to have my January wrap-up, but also my February TBR. I figured it'd be quicker if I just put these all in one, and then y'all can see everything at one time. So first things first, I'm going to show you some of the books that I read in January. I'll talk about all of them, give you a star rating for those of you who care about those sort of things, and then I'll show you my TBR for February. That being said, I don't typically give star ratings on my Instagram, but I know people like them because it gives them a frame of reference. That being said, I think of my star ratings more as just how I feel when I read the book. I'm not saying this is a 5-star, this is really well written, or this is a 1-star, this is not well written. It's more of like, how do I feel when I read it? So a 3-star book for me might be a 5-star book for you, and vice versa. Alright, so first book I want to talk about is this one right here, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is a reread for me. I've rated this one a 4-star. A Court of Thorns and Roses is a fantasy written by Sarah J. Maas. It's one of her 3 series. It is about Feyre, who goes into the fairylands after killing a fairy, and she has to live her life there. She goes through trials, she meets lots of different people. It's really setting up this fantasy world for A Court of Thorns and Roses. There are plenty more books in this series now. Most people would probably say that the first one is not their favorite for a variety of reasons, whether that be the romance or the storyline or the writing. I think it's just fine. I think it's good. It definitely hooked me in for the rest of the series, but I would say that the later books definitely are some of my favorites. So again, I would rate this one 4 stars. If you haven't checked out this series and you're a fantasy lover, definitely give it a try. Alright, next up I read Wondersmith, which is the second book in this series. I don't have Wondersmith with me, but this is Nevermoor. I've talked about Nevermoor before. It is a story about a girl who is thought to be cursed because of the day in which she was born. Her society says that everything bad that's ever happened has happened because of kids like her. She gets whisked away to a different magical location that also has a competition to be part of the Wondrous Society. Like I said, I read Wondersmith, which is the second book in the series. This is super, super fun. I tell a lot of people this. Even though it's a middle grade, I think it reads more like the stories that we read as kids and got us really hooked on reading. So I read this and I'm like, I want to binge more. So you'll see in my February TBR, I have another one ready to go. The 4th one comes out later in the year. I think maybe August, late summer, fall, I think. But I'm really excited to continue on with this series. It's super, super fun. It's one of those things that just brings me joy to read. And so I would give Wondersmith a 5-star. The next one I've got is this one right here, and it is How High We Go in the Dark. I've talked about this before in a haul, but this is a book that I received an ARC for. Actually, yeah, no, this is a finished copy. I would say it's a little sci-fi dystopian, but more in the way of Cloud Atlas and Station 11, more of in a speculative fiction sort of way, as in like this could happen. It's super, super good. It's about a plague that results when permafrost melts in the Arctic, unearthed from populations way before us. It's very beautiful. It's very haunting. There's a lot of trigger warnings for things like death, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I feel like I'm a better person for having read this book. I was able to connect with the author over on Instagram. He has been absolutely lovely to talk to about this book. He's getting a lot of praise for his book. It's on a lot of lists, and I think that's really a great thing. It's a well-earned accolade, and hopefully this one makes some of the big popular year-end lists as well. I absolutely love reading this book. It's the first book that I read in January, and I would give it a 10-star if I could. So 5-star rating for me. I think if you've read Station 11, you will absolutely love this book. It talks a lot about, you know, what it's like to grieve, what it's like to think of the afterlife. Where can we go from here? Is space the answer? How did we get here? Where did we come from? Why are we here? All of those questions. So if you were like me and you're into that sort of thing, this one's the one for you. Alright, and the last 3 books that I read I don't have with me. The first one is The Guest List. The Guest List is by Lucy Foley. It's marked as a thriller, but for me, 50% of books that are marked as thrillers are mysteries, so I'm going to call this one a mystery. It's in the vein of Agatha Christie. It is a really cool story written in like 6 or 7 different point of views, and it is about all of these fabulous and famous people that ended up on an island to celebrate a wedding. Mysterious things start to happen. We know at the beginning that there's a death, but we don't know who, and so we're working our way sort of backwards to front to figure out who was killed, how did it happen, that sort of thing. This is one of those stories where I did not pick the ending. I normally figure out the endings for books like this. I did not figure it out, and I also liked the ending, so that's pretty good for me. I rated this book 5 stars. I thought it was a super fun story. I recommended it to a lot of people already. The next book that I'll tell you about is The Last Thing He Told Me, which is also marked as a thriller. I believe it won the Goodreads Thriller Award this year. I would say also it's more of a mystery, a little bit of family drama, found family sort of thing. It was decent. It was about a stepmom who comes to be solely caring for her stepdaughter, and they're trying to figure out where her husband is. I got to a point where like 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way through, I was loving it. I was so excited. I didn't know what was going to happen. There was a specific scene that occurred that just threw it all to the side for me, and I did not enjoy the ending. I thought it was a little too simple, a little too easily wrapped up, and it just kind of ruined the story for me. So I thought it was a 3-star. The writing was good. You know, I enjoyed what the author did. But I just didn't like how it ended. So 3-star for me on The Last Thing He Told Me. The last book that I read in January was A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. I've read her YA book, The Wicked Deep, and I thought that was super good as well. A History of Wild Places is about a detective who is looking for a missing person, and he ends up also going missing. There's another point of view that talks about a secret location called Pastoral, which is sort of a commune, if you would think of in the way of like the movie The Village, which is one of my favorite movies. And just sort of how those stories overlap. It's very atmospheric, it's very spooky, it's very mysterious. I loved this book. I gave it a 5-star. I thought it was super, super cool. I would go into it knowing less rather than knowing more, but I know a lot of people have loved this book. I thought the ending was just what I was looking for, and so for that I would give it 5 stars. Alright, and now on to my February TBR. I've got a pretty long list. I'm getting through more books than I thought I would in this early few weeks of 2022. So let me tell you what I've got. I've got a stack of most of them here from the library, and let's see what we have. The first book I have is 6 Crimson Cranes, which is a story about a girl who has magic. She is not supposed to have magic, and when it's found out that she does, her brothers are cursed. If she speaks about her brothers being cursed and turns into cranes, they will be killed. So she is trying to communicate with other people about what's happened to her brothers without them losing their lives. So I'm really excited to read this. I've got a group of like 10 of us who are going to read this together. I've heard it reads like a Disney fairy tale, so I'm super excited for that. I'll also show this one really quickly. This is Hollowpox, which is the 3rd book in the Nevermoor series. I talked about this, the middle grade one, just a few minutes ago. I also have this one right here, which is The Last Wish, which is the prequels or short stories for The Witcher. I really want to get into this series because I watched the show and I am obsessed, like overwhelmingly obsessed. So I really want to read these books. I hope I like them just as much as I like the show, and I can't wait to read more of Geralt. Next up, I don't have with me right now because it's a pre-order, but that is the second book in the Crescent City series. I am so excited for this book. I finished the first one on like New Year's Eve and it rocked my world. It was the last book that I read in 2021 and it ended up being my favorite. So I made that video too early, but yeah, so it ended up being my favorite book of 2021 and I'm just overwhelmingly excited to read the second one. So when that pre-order comes in, you can bet that I will be reading it right away. Next one on my list I also don't have with me, but it's called The Maid, and it is the book for my book club with Lindsay over on Instagram. She's at The Opinionated Reader. She is fantastic. I love her so much. I know nothing about this book other than it is a mystery, and I love a good mystery. So The Maid, which I believe was a Book of the Month choice last month, is going to be one on my TBR as well. Next one up is this one right here, which is Red Rising. I'm reading this on recommendation from my friend Lauren. She's over on Instagram at The Book Script. I know nothing about this book other than I believe there are people in caste systems by color, and they also may or may not be on Mars. I think that's right. They're on Mars, right? That's all I know about this book. She like worships this series, so I'm very excited to read this one in February as well. Next one on my TBR is this right here, which is an Ember in the Ashes. This is a really popular YA series. I'm reading this with my friend on Instagram. Her handle is Big Borrowed Books. I am really excited to get to this one. We are doing like a schedule of reading a certain amount a day. I hope I can stick to it. I hope I can stick to it, Sarah. Just, yeah, forgive me if I don't. But yeah, so I know nothing about this book other than it is set in a kingdom that's supposed to be modeling ancient Rome, warriors, high stakes, all that sort of thing. So excited to read this and see what the hype is all about. The next three I have are actually graphic novels, and I've never read a graphic novel. So I picked out three that I thought would be interesting just based on like things that I've heard and what I know about the worlds. So the first one that I have is The Handmaid's Tale in graphic novel form, which I think will be really cool. I also have Black Panther. I love this movie, so I think being in this world would be really cool to learn a little bit more about it. And I also have Star Wars Darth Vader. So, like I said, these are three graphic novels that I have. I know nothing about reading them. I know not too much about the world more than, you know, what I've seen on film. But I'm really excited to take a look at some of these and see if graphic novels is a new format that I might want to try. Alright, and the last book on my February TBR I have on my Kindle, and that is Caraval. It is a YA series, and I believe it centers around a circus magical performance, sort of like Cirque du Soleil sort of thing. It has a bond between sisters, there's a rivalry, competition. That's really all I know. I'm reading this with a group of people over on Instagram, which I'm really excited for. I've heard mixed things about it. Some people either are obsessed with it or they DNF it after like 50 pages. So hopefully I like it because I'm excited to be able to read the whole series if I do enjoy the first one. So that's going to conclude today's video, which included my January rankings as well as my February TBR. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I hope you consider subscribing to my channel as well. Thank you all for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye!